Gentlemen, good morning. Today I'm going to talk to you on a topic which is a little strange. Strange in the sense I'm going to focus on something which happened during World War II. I'm going to focus on a man called Kurt Gerstein. Now he was a German and he was born in 1905 and finally he died in 1945. So it's a very short existence, just about 40 years. But during this period, he lived a very momentous life and he was a member of the Nazi Party from 1933. The first thing we must remember of Gerstein is that he was tried as a war criminal. And it's a moot point whether he was a war criminal or no, because finally in 1965, his widow was able to get his name exonerated. So, gentlemen, let's study this man. So exciting a life he had, and perhaps it's a picture of the type of people who were there in the German Reich. So, when I say the majority is silent and the minority takes over, this is what happens to people who are in the majority and then finally come in support of the minority. Gerstein actually was the sixth of seven children who was born to a well-established Lutheran family in German city of Munster. His father had harsh similarities to the theory of Nazism and he was a nationalist. So he put in the spirit of patriotism in this young man who was born in 1905. And he studied engineering, he went to Aachen, and then, Germany lost the First World War, you know it. And then came the Treaty of Versailles, and in that treaty, harsh measures were put on Germany. Germany was expected to pay reparations to the victorious powers that included France and England. And it was beyond the capacity of the German state to pay. In addition, they had been defranked. Their army was disbanded. They were not supposed to have an air force. And they were restricted in the number of ships they could have, number of tanks they could have, all sorts of things. So he was a patriotic man, and that is the time when the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler rose in Germany. So initially, Gerstein felt it was his patriotic duty to support the Nazis. Why? Because he was a strong nationalist. And in 1933, when Hitler came to power, now all you know how he came to power. He came into power only because he was the largest single party in the Reich. He didn't have an absolute majority. And at that time, probably Gerstein felt that he should join the Nazi Party because he had a strong nationalist sentiment. And then he joined the party in May 1933. That he joined the Nazi Party in 1933. And he received a lot of help in that party. When he joined that party, he received a lot of help from his father and some influential people. And so he became a member of the German Nazi Party under Adolf Hitler. He was able to observe at close quarter Adolf Hitler, and initially I think he was a little fascinated with the pomp and show, the spit and polish of the German ethos, the German party, because there's no doubt about it that Hitler brought in a certain amount of self-respect for the German people. He abrogated the Versailles Treaty, tore it clause by clause, and then people felt, here's a man who is fit to lead Germany. In the meanwhile, when this man joined the Nazi Party, he observed that the Nazi Party was basically all hooligans, they were all some sort of gundas in the sense they were drinking, carousing, womanizing, and it was very often that they would just catch a woman in the street, and if she was due, she had it, they would rape her. This was continuing, you see. So finally, he found that this is an anti-Christian atmosphere. So what did he do after that? He did something obverse. He went and joined a Christian organization because he felt what was happening was wrong, and he became closer and closer to Christianity. Then something else happened, you know. In 1937, he married a pastor's daughter, and they lived in Tubington. And in July 1938, he was arrested for anti-Nazi activities, but he was released after some time. Now, this was the time when he came to know that his sister-in-law had died in one of the mental asylums. And it was given out that she had died a natural death. But actually, later on, he came to know it was not because that she died a natural death, but the death was because the Nazi party had decided that they would execute all those who were mentally infirm or who had any disabilities. It's a very stupid thing, but that is what precisely was happening in Germany at the time. And he rightly suspected that his sister-in-law had been murdered. That made him turn against the Nazi party, and he thought the only way he could expose the Nazis was by joining this organization further, the SS. Now, one may agree with him, one may not agree with him, because it's a toss-up coin. He need not have joined the SS to find out what's happening. Probably he could have found out on his own. Anyway, he had already been suspended from the party, but he was readmitted to the party with a provisional membership. And after many unsuccessful attempts, in mid-1941, that is the time when he came to know that his sister-in-law had been murdered. So there was nothing much he could do. And then he decided that perhaps I should now get into the SS. So he joined the SS. Now that's a very big mistake he did. But at the same time, he had a 2 months training in the medical corps, and finally in January 1, 1941, he was assigned to the Hygiene Institute of the Waffen-SS in Berlin. Now this Hygiene Institute was a joke, because it was supposed to carry out some experiments on Jews, and those experiments were of a very heinous nature. But then what I understand is that he distinguished himself in the Hygiene Institute, and he did a lot of other good work. He improved the quality of drinking water for the combat troops, and then he was made a second lieutenant in the Western SS. That means he was promoted. Now, once he got in the Hygiene Institute, he came to know that there's something called the final solution. Now, this final solution, I already talked about it, it was something which was Hitler's brainchild. And he sold it to his entourage who were around him, Göring, Himmler, all of them. And the final solution meant the killing of all Jews in Germany, who he termed them as subhuman. I haven't heard this word anywhere else, anybody using it, but Hitler used the word subhuman. That means just above animals, but they were not the proper humans. And so the Waffen-SS began to execute these people. And this man was sent to Treblinka, one of the camps, where this experiment was going on. And he was responsible to deliver a drug called the Zyklon B to Auschwitz and other camps. Now, this is a very dangerous drug, because this was the drug used to poison and kill the Jews, and he was the man who supplied it. And in August 42, he did observe the mass killing of Jews. He later on described this as murder. And he has given a very graphic account of what used to happen. He saw that the mothers with little children sticking to their mother with the breast, who were being whipped by the Nazi guards to the pits, and buried sometime alive or taken into the chamber and gassed to death. And it was a very, very sad occurrence that he should see such a thing happening, and it affected his psyche. I don't know how he felt about it at that time. He later, of course, maintained that his experience made him determined to inform the world of the horrors taking place in the killing centers. And that was his way of thinking. And maybe he was right, because see, at that time in Germany, the situation was very, very extreme. Either you were with Hitler or against Hitler. There was nothing like intermediate. And if you were against Hitler, you had it. You were executed. If you were with Hitler, you got lots of privileges. So everybody would be with Hitler, and they would, kill their conscience. He had gone to the Belzec camp and the Treblinka camp, and there he had a close encounter with a Swedish diplomat. I think his name was Göran von Otter. Now this man met this gentleman, and they had a powwow, and Gerstein told him all about what was happening in the Nazi camps. And Gerstein said he would inform the Vatican. Now here is another twist to the entire tale. The Vatican never spread this information to the Americans or to the British or the French. Didn't do it, because the Vatican had always been in league with the Nazis and the fascists. Now, I think a lot of Catholics will like to deny it, but that's been one of the very sad episodes in the history of Christianity. And I don't think Christians should feel very proud of what happened, because the Christianity had a big hand in the execution of about 6 million Jews. Now, you can't deny that. I don't know whether the church has got the courage to deny it, but they try to just put it under the sink. So this man was disgusted, but he continued. I mean, he couldn't do anything. What else he could do? So in April 1945, gentlemen, the destruction of the Reich was imminent. It was going to be destroyed. So this is the time, so many of these Waffen-SS and the German generals, they surrendered. Von Paulus had earlier surrendered to the Russians with about 20 generals, and the Russians didn't execute him. And so many people like von Kluge and others surrendered to the Americans and the French. And in April 1945, he surrendered to the French authorities in southwestern Germany. So he made a statement there. He declared that he had given himself up so that the Allies could use his knowledge and punish those responsible for the heinous acts. Wonderful, excellent idea. But very soon, Gerstein, from being a friend, became a suspect. Initially, they had put him up in a hotel in the Charge Midi prison in Paris. In a hotel, and he was transferred from the hotel to the Charge Midi Paris prison in Paris. It was a transformation, and he was wondering why it's been done, and he was told, you are being put in now as a suspect because you have been supplying that dreaded drug. You are accused of supplying the dreaded drug which was used for the execution of the Jews. So while he was in custody, Gerstein wrote what is known as the Gerstein Report. He wrote a report. In this report, he recounted that he had seen what he had seen in his service with the SS. And he said that he hoped that this report would help the Allies to catch those and punish the SS and the other Germans who had taken part in these heinous crimes. Then something strange happened. In July 25, 1945, Ernst Gerstein was found hanged to death in his cell. Now, I'm very sure the French would not have done it, and the general refrain was that he had killed himself. I don't think so. The general opinion now is that perhaps he had been hanged to death by compatriots, the other SS who were in jail, because they were scared that he would come out with astonishing facts before the tribunal. about the final solution. And that was the end of Gerstein. But the matter didn't end there because Gerstein's widow was denied a pension because he was supposed to be a war criminal, and she fought for it. And with the help of so many other old timers, in 1965 her pension was restored and Gerstein's name was taken off the list of war criminals. Now I leave you gentlemen to judge whether Gerstein was complicit or what, or he was a revolutionary, he opposed Nazism. I think the coin cuts both ways, but the fact remains the period in Germany at that time was a period where nobody could have opposed Hitler. And that being the case, I think we must give the benefit of the doubt to Gerstein and say that he generally didn't like the Nazis. He joined the Nazis and what he saw appalled him. I think we can take his statement with a pinch of salt that he joined the Nazis basically to find out how they were carrying out the final solution. I don't think that was true. He joined it because that was the fashion at that time, to be with the Nazis and get the Nazis swastika and go marching up and down in support of Hitler. That's what was happening at that time. Well, gentlemen, I think justice was served. But we have men like Gerstein who need to be remembered. And now with the war on in the Middle East and so many charges and counter charges of genocide being made, it's worth looking at people like Gerstein who led the way. At least in the end he repented and gave a lot of information of what was happening in Germany so far as the final solution is concerned. I think I will just say that in January 1965, almost 15 years after that, well-placed Germans were able to help his wife get a pension and she lived. But the memory of Gerstein will be there because I would definitely like people to know about this man. Gentlemen, I hope you liked this video of mine. Please share it with your friends and come back for more. I will now close and say goodbye. Take care and God bless.